Before we start our lesson on price setting by markup method, let me give some important terms and measurements which will be useful in understanding this method. Previously, we talked about differences between profit and revenue and realized for ourselves that revenue is total quantity of output multiplied by price of an output. And you know, by increasing quantity of output, you'll also increase the total revenue. But even if the total revenue increases, not each sold unit of output gives the same revenue level as the previous one. Here we have differences between total revenue and marginal revenue. Marginal revenue is extra revenue from selling an additional unit of output, which is equal to the change in revenue divided by the change in sales. In order to explain it, we use the effect of customers' elasticity of demand on this marginal revenue of the firm. And the formula of their interrelation is like in this formula. Here we have three important points. Marginal revenue is always less than price. Second point is marginal revenue can be negative. And the third one, what will be the marginal revenue of firms depend directly on elasticity of demand measurement. We can illustrate it by such a graph. The marginal revenue curve lies below the demand curve because at any quantity, marginal revenue is less than price. Earlier we calculated elasticity of demand of firm which set the price of $15 and the result was 3. And if we put this price and quantity into the formula, marginal revenue will give you $10. What does it mean? If a firm decides to decrease its price by increasing its output by a small amount, there is a chance to increase the firm's revenue because marginal revenue is positive. And you have to remember that revenues reach their maximum at the level of 0. Now let's consider the next important graph. Here, the graph of demand and the downlying one is marginal revenue. This graph represents two parts of demand. At smaller quantity and a higher price, marginal revenue is positive, and the demand curve is elastic. At a larger quantity and a lower price, marginal revenue is negative, and the demand curve is inelastic. And the point along the demand curve has optimal price and optimal quantity at which marginal revenue reaches its maximum of 0. In this case, demand curve is unit elastic. Let's come back to our example of Ellie's company. After hiring the outsourcing company, they recommend her to make a presentation to her team that in case of increasing price for drug, they will expect to get lower revenue. Their current price shows positive marginal revenue, and if they really want to reach maximum possible revenue, they have to reduce price until they make a marginal revenue of 0. At this level, their elasticity of demand equals to 1. Some members argue that they have to decrease price in order to increase their sales, or in other words, total revenue will be increased. And Ellie explained them their main goal. They have not to maximize the total revenue, but their goal is to make bigger their profit as possible. And they puzzled again on what price to set. They need more information about cost of producing the unit of drug. So, what we learned? Marginal revenue is more important to identify the profit from each product sold and is closely related to elasticity of demand. In order to maximize revenue, the company should decrease price and increase output slightly until its marginal revenue equals 0. This part is only half of a whole price setting. And in the next session, we will learn about product costs that should also be taken into account in setting the optimal price.